Welcome to the debut episode of the Soxcast. We had tried a couple podcasts before. We had the Blue Sox beat at the beginning of the name change run with the Blue Sox, and then later on 2019, Blue Sox Nation podcast. And now the third incarnation is the Soxcast with me, Tim Best, the PA announcer for your Blue Sox. I've been with this club, for well before the Blue Sox were even born. And because of that, I have a lot of great ties with players from the past, a multitude of them. And of course, I've been able to develop a lot of great connections with them. And this guy, for the very first guest here on the Soxcast, I probably developed the best of any of them. He was here for 3 years, and, he and another player we're going to touch on later on, about half an hour or so down the road, were the first guys in the PGCBL to go 3 years with the same club. And of course, he's a legend here in Utica for what he did in those 3 years. And his number 20 is retired by the organization. He was the first Blue Sox Hall of Fame inductee right before his final home game in 2017. It is the one, the only, Mr. Blue Sox himself, Taylor Olmstead. T.O., thanks for being the first guest inside the Soxcast, my man.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. It's good to see you again. It's good to be talking to you. So I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, notice I almost said the Igloo, because those people that know about my other venture, the Igloo, my Big East Who's podcast, inside the Igloo, but obviously we're outside of it today. We're on the Soxcast. So, but now, to get started, obviously, you never would have ended up in Utica had you taken an offer from the Texas Rangers, being picked, strangely enough, as I'm rocking their lid.
Yeah, nice hat.
Yeah, I mean, I think the red one's better than the blue, but that's just me. But so you were taken in the 13th round, coming out of high school, out of Greenwich, Connecticut. And not only were you really good at baseball, you were also the captain of your football team as well. You could have gone at least pro in baseball, and you other could have gone collegiately in football. But to get picked, 13th round is nothing to sneeze at. That as an 18-year-old kid, you got a lot of money staring at you right in the face. How hard was that to ultimately turn it down and choose to play out of the two sports? You could have gone either way, but you chose to play baseball, and doing that collegiately, starting at the University of Connecticut.
Yeah, I mean, it was first of all, it was an honor for me for that to happen to me. It was just a testament to my parents and my coaches and my teammates that I was able to be put in that opportunity to get drafted. So it's something I'll cherish every day for the rest of my life. But yeah, it was incredibly tough. It's like you mentioned, it's being an 18-year-old kid. It's a very tough choice to kind of be thrown on you. And for me, it was really important for me to go to school, start my degree, and then potentially we'll get better at baseball, one, and then potentially get picked again, get drafted higher, But for me, it wasn't an easy choice. It's something I do think about a lot, and obviously I get asked that a lot over the years, but it's a choice that I made. It was very difficult, but it's something that I think was in my best interest, and a choice that me and my family made together for me to go to college. Like I said, I think it was the best fit for me. Because being 18, I was a young kid. I was a different ball player, a different person than I am today. And I think that was the best choice, to go to college, get better, and maybe go higher. Things just didn't work. Some injuries along the way, and things just didn't work out. But we're still working on that. There might be some opportunities coming in the future. And then as far as football, yeah, I played football as well. I loved football. I had a lot of looks for football. I was considering, it came down to UConn or Yale to go play football. I was going to be a outside linebacker. But yeah, once, the big time scouts were looking at me for baseball, and baseball is my one true love, my one passion, I kind of, shifted towards baseball a little bit more, but I did love football, and I was very close to playing in college as well.
So, I mean, obviously it's hard to turn it down, but you redshirted your first year at UConn, and played summer collegiate ball in the same state for the Torrington Titans of the Futures League. But I feel like, and I feel like you'll agree with me on this, the following summer, after your first year in uniform for the Huskies, upgrading to the Perfect Game Collegiate Baseball League, specifically with the team formerly known then as the Utica Brewers. What do you remember just from, experiencing the step up in competition, stepping up in a bigger city, and number three, stepping up into a league where most of the time you were playing in, including in Utica, a former single A ballpark that, several legends and maybe even a few Hall of Famers have called home.
Yeah, I mean, coming up after my freshman year, I got hurt in the preseason, so I ended up having a redshirt that year, which was unfortunate. And then I played in the Futures League. But coming to Utica, yeah, I'd never been up in that area. I didn't know too much, about the area, about the team. I knew the Perfect Game League was a great league, and I was excited to play in that league and get up there and get going. And, it kind of turned into something even greater. And I'm really glad that I had the opportunity to come play in Utica and that I was able to do it because, a lot of the memories and stuff that I'm sure we're going to get into today wouldn't have happened. So it was a cool experience, and I was excited, just coming from Connecticut, ready to play some ball and get after it. And then turned out to be a really good choice for me.
That 2015 team, there were a lot of Division I guys that included yourself. You had two guys from Wake Forest, a pitcher from Ohio State, a couple of pitchers from Oakland, as well as, two guys that, joined you in returning to Utica the following summer out of St. Bonaventure. Yeah. And that would be, Jack McClure and Jared Baldinelli, who we'll obviously touch on because, those two guys, characters within themselves. Oh, yeah. And obviously, coming into that summer, how much did you hear about, the kind of, how poorly the previous summer had gone before, where they had, at the time, the worst record in the league's history, going 9-36. They only won on the road twice that entire summer. So how much did you hear about that? And did it kind of motivate not just you, but the rest of the team to, reverse the fortunes of the franchise at the time?
Yeah, first off, that was a great league and a great team. We had a lot of great dudes, a lot of talent in that league, a lot of talent on our team, a lot of great ball players, great people. But yeah, going into the season, you get up there and you just kind of want to focus on getting better, winning ball games and playing good baseball. But when you do hear things like that, the season that happened earlier, there's a lot of turnover in college summer ball, but you're still wearing that jersey, you're still wearing that name. So for when you do hear those things, definitely motivates you to play a little bit harder, play a little bit better for those fans and for that program. So, we just tried to go out there and play ball and play hard every day.
So I think one of the things that makes, the league special is that, for a good majority, there's very few teams that, kind of struggle with getting a fan base, drawing consistently, except for, big promotional nights. But obviously in front of more fans in Utica and a bigger ballpark, that environment leads to, making moments even more special. And one of those first special moments for you in Utica came on Father's Day of 2015. You're playing the Victor Rail Riders, and Victor's up 2-0 going to the bottom of the eighth. I believe it was Luke Tomzik. I'm starting to think it was Tomzik that was pitching that day.
It might have been. I don't remember quite who it was, but that does sound familiar. It might have been him.
So I'm pretty sure he was the ace of that staff, and he was dealing 2-0 bottom of the eighth, and it was weird that manager Chris Amaya, kind of like Khalid Cox a few years down the road, he hit you in the 9-hole as the most prolific power bat in the order, and in that spot, with a runner with the tying, with you being the tying run at the plate, you hit a big 2-run homer to tie the game, and lo and behold, you guys end up winning the game with later on in that same inning, Zach Piazza driving in the winning run after getting hit by a pitch. But to make that moment even more special, your father Wayne was there, and I feel like tying that game is one thing, but having your dad witness it on Father's Day just ramped it up to a whole nother level.
Yeah, that was one of those great games that I'll remember for the rest of my life. That was a moment with on Father's Day with my dad being there and seeing that. It was a moment that I'll cherish forever, and I'll always remember it. And yeah, I mean, like, I think that game, yeah, I might have been in the 9-hole. I think I hit every spot in the lineup that year. After that game, that changed a little quickly. But yeah, I mean, I think I think I had a tough few games going into there, and I was just trying to feel some stuff out at the plate. And I believe whoever was on the mound, I can't remember, he was dealing that day. I think he had a one-hitter or no-hitter going into that inning. And I believe it was an 0-1 count, and I was just trying to look for a good pitch in my zone. And I think he ended up flipping a slider over that I wasn't guessing, but I was waiting for one of those to come, and I was able to put a good swing on it and, got the good outcome. But it was great with my dad there. That's a moment we talk about often. I'll never forget that. He'll never forget that. And I think the funny thing is I was talking to him the other day about it. It came up. And I think he was sitting next to the pitcher's family when that happened. So he got very excited, but he tried to hold it back a little bit just because he was sitting closer to them. But yeah, it was a cool experience. One I'll always remember, I'll always cherish. And it was great to get the win after, starting the game like that.
I mean, that whole summer, granted, you guys ended up finishing with a losing record, but, in that time, in the league, all you had to do was finish in the top 3 in your division to make the playoff. And, you guys were pretty deep into a playoff race, down the stretch in July, competing for that last spot with the Newark Pilots, who, strangely enough, featured a future teammate of yours, Kyle Norman, who we'll touch on later on.
Great guy.
Can't say enough good about Norm. But that final week of the season, things could have gone south after, Victor had beaten you in the home finale, and I think you lost at Mohawk Valley the following day. And then I believe there was a day off. And then, with 3 games left in the season, well, 3 days, I should say, because, you had a doubleheader, I think on the 28th or something like that. But, that, like, okay, if we want to make the playoffs, we need to win quick, and we need to win as many games as humanly possible to make sure that we're safely in. And that doubleheader at Victor, number one, was an expansion team who was safely in the playoffs by that time. And then secondly, playing on that, dilapidated high school field out in Victor. I will take any opportunity to slander that field because, no team should have to play at a designated high school baseball field in that kind of summer collegiate league like that. But anyways, how big was it, sweeping that doubleheader, and not only were the bats good, the pitching was good. Christian Johnson Battlana absolutely dominated the second game too.
Yeah. It was a great feeling, like we knew the spot we were in going into the last few games of the season. And, you try not to scoreboard watch or anything like that. And you try to get to the field, play hard and take care of business, do what you have to do to win the ball games. And for us, we knew we had to win to have a chance to get in. And when we got there, we took care of business. We played hard and we were able to come out with the wins. And it's a good feeling knowing that, you came there to get those wins, to have the opportunity to keep playing. And we did that. So it was a cool experience to go through. And, we played a lot of close games that year with that team. We had a really good team. Some games didn't go our way. But it all started to come together at the end, and we were playing as a unit. We were playing well. And we were starting to gel at the right time. So it was a really good weekend for us.
So the second to last day of the season, you are, I believe, it was like a half a game or, enough where the second to last day of the season, you can clinch a playoff berth with a win at Adirondack against the Trailblazers, a closely approximated division rival. The Diamond Dogs are obviously in the East. And you needed the Diamond Dogs, speaking of, to beat Newark in Newark that same night to make it into the playoffs. Well, with the help of, Baldinelli, who dominated at the plate, he, for a 5'7" guy, he cranked a homer and drove in 4 runs on the night. Oh, yeah. And to supplement that, Ryan Simpler took a no-hitter into the 7th. I think he struck out 11 hitters through a complete game shutout. And, how important was it, number one, to set the tone, and number two, getting out to that big lead? Did it make it easier to not try to focus on what was going on, a couple hundred, 100 plus miles west?
Yeah. Definitely in a game like that, getting out to where it's a must-win game, getting out to a big lead is definitely a good thing. But it's one of those games where you can't relax. You can't take your foot off the pedal. You got to keep having good at-bats, playing well in the field. And that kind of takes pressure off of, scoreboard watching a little bit. You try not to do that as much and just, like I mentioned before, just focus on taking care of business and playing hard that game. But Sim pitched a great game. I think I was in left field that day. I had a great view of it, and I had a very uneventful day, let's put it that way, in the outfield because he was that good on the mound. So I wasn't doing too much out there, but it's cool to be in the field for a game like that because you want to try to do everything you can to keep that no-hitter intact. But yeah, I had a great view for that one. He pitched great. It made my day a lot easier in the outfield. And then Baldy just had a great day. Baldinelli at the plate, it clicked that day, and he carried us to a big lead. And it was a good feeling to kind of get that win and then wait and see what happens.
Yeah, the funny thing was, it was about like maybe a couple minutes before the final out was recorded when I think because at that point, 8-0 game, fans started filing out, add around X out of it. And like, what good does it do if you're an Adirondack fan, like, well, that's over and we're not playing for anything. So, let's go home. So there weren't a lot of fans there. And I think because of that, me being on the broadcast, kind of like up on the hill, close enough to field level where I kind of like loudly declared, I'm like, Newark has just lost to Mohawk Valley. So.
Yeah, I remember that actually.
So, I mean, were you like, I think, for you personally, you hear that and you got to be, what could possibly go through your head? Like, oh my God, we're only X amount of outs away from getting in.
Oh, it's a great feeling, to hear that and to know that like you had one job to do, which was get that win, take care of business, and we were doing it up to that point. But like I said, especially with something like that where we're waiting for a team to, possibly lose for us to get in, you don't want to take your foot off the pedal. You want to keep having good at bats and keep pitching it on the mound because you never know what can happen, especially when you get close to playoff time, even when a team might be down. It's baseball. Anything could happen. But that was a good feeling for us, and I think that kind of motivated us to keep it going in that game and get that win.
So, unfortunately, in the playoffs, you have to go back to Victor on like a Friday afternoon because that high school didn't have lights. You had to play like relatively early. I think it was like a 5 o'clock or whatever. And, even with Mike Messier, the ace of the staff on the hill, Simp was the bulldog, but Messier was the ace. He was second in the entire league in ERA by literally, if I do the math right, 1/100th of a run, I believe it was.
Yeah.
It was 1.37 to 1.38. He just missed it by literally that much. So he, unfortunately, that day he just did not have his best stuff, and it didn't help that your bullpen ace, the Taiwanese sensation Wei Young Sao, did give up an earned run the entire regular season, and then he just imploded because guys' arms were tired. At least that's what I think happened. But from your vantage point, what went wrong, and even with the run support that you guys got in the end, I know Alex Core went yard late in that game, but ultimately in the it was just too much, and Victor won, I think it was like 13-5.
Yeah, it's a tough one to go through. It's a tough game, but that's just playoff baseball, man. In playoff baseball, anything could happen. And that's why baseball is one of the greatest sports, is because anybody can win on any given day. You could have your best pitchers out there and the other team could just, be hot that day. So that just kind of speaks to playoff baseball, playoff atmosphere. Our pitchers, those two guys you mentioned, were, like you said, they were our guys the whole season. They were on their backs the whole season. They carried us to that moment. So, at that point late in the season, it's just some guys' arms are a little tired or they just don't have it that day. And that happens not only to pitchers, but hitters. Sometimes at the plate, it's baseball. You don't have it that day. You just got to fight and keep working. But they got us to that point. They carried us to that point, and they're great pitchers, great dudes. Had a lot of fun playing with them. But that just happens. Sometimes it doesn't go your way. Sometimes it's not your day, and that's baseball. And like I said, in playoff baseball, all rules are off. Anything could happen on any given day, and I think we're seeing that this year. With the Red Sox, who had a good year, but they're a couple wins away from being in the World Series, which I don't think people would have expected. So it didn't go our way that day, but that's a tough loss. But that's just kind of the way it goes sometimes.
So, Was it like rather easy, deciding to come back to Utica for another run? And, in the same vein, a lot of things were changing. Number one, obviously addressing the elephant in the room, the Brewers were no more. The Utica Blue Sox were finally back after a decade and a half hiatus in quite the legal battle to get the name back from the man who purchased the team, moved into Aberdeen to become the Ironbirds, Cal Ripken, to get that name back with the team in the city. But to answer the initial question, like, was it easy to re-sign and essentially go on this road to redemption for, that early exit in the playoffs the year before?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was a relatively easy choice. From day one in Utica, I felt comfortable. I felt at home, and everybody involved with that program from, the top down made me feel comfortable. And like I said, it's like a family atmosphere, and they're part of my family. I'm part of their family. And I knew Utica and the Blue Sox now was a place where I could get better. I could play great baseball, and more importantly, feel comfortable and have fun playing there. It was a great atmosphere. So I knew I was going to come back, and there wasn't really much of a choice. And we talk about it. I joke about it, but I was there through two name changes and for 3 years, so I should have got an apartment out there because I spent a lot of time in Utica, which was a lot of great time.
And so what were your initial thoughts on the name change? Because it only happened, maybe like a month and a half until opening day.
Yeah. Like, to be honest, I didn't know too much about it. Like, I knew the history of the ballpark and the history of the team that was there, but I didn't know too much about it. And then I quickly learned how important the Blue Sox were to that city and to those fans and everybody supporting us. And it was really cool to, be out there for that first team with the Blue Sox name that's came back to Utica. So it was really cool to experience that. And we quickly found out from our fans how important it was to the city and the people around us. So it's really cool to have that name back and put that play for that name on our jersey.
And on that note, I mean, like, how big of a difference in the vibe in the city and in the ballpark was it, opening day to, compared to, for most of the year before, just in terms of just the buzz and just the atmosphere in the U, like just on that first night alone?
Yeah, people were excited, man. It was really cool to experience. People around the city were excited. They remembered the name from the old times, and it was really cool to have that feeling and that atmosphere as the season was starting. So it was a really exciting time, and it was cool for us and all the guys on the team to get ready to play that season. We were really hyped up.
And I mean, in terms of the attendance numbers, just on opening night, I feel like it was, I would say, between 5 and 10 times more than the average attendance a year ago. So, I mean, what was it like, did it energize you even more to play even better than last year? And that was a historic season you had, tying the single season record in home runs with 7 bombs that year. So, I mean, did playing in front of just like an even bigger multitude of fans, did that just energize you to play even better and have statistically your best season here?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely, the fans played a huge part, and it was that opening night we had a huge turnout, and it was really, really fun to play in front of those fans. And it's always fun to play in front of a large crowd, and energizes us as players and motivates us, and it lets us have more fun. And it was a really cool experience, and I enjoyed it too, especially having a lot of the young kids there, because I remember when I was younger going to games like that, and it was really cool experience for me. So I'm glad we could provide the fans and the young kids and everybody involved with coming to the games a good experience and a good team on the field.
And the makeup of that group drastically different compared to the year before, because you had a lot of high level Division I guys, because you had Wake Forest and Ohio State, some a couple big time schools. This group, I think you had maybe 5 to 6 Division I current at the time Division I players, with the biggest school probably being like Marshall, I think. But what made that group, even with the like quote unquote drop off in talent because there wasn't as much of a D1 presence, like what separated that group from the year before in terms of the next level that they took?
Yeah, I mean, we had a bunch of dogs on that team. We had a lot of guys that played the game hard, played to win. And we gelled as a team. We had a lot of characters, a lot of big personality, and we had a lot of fun that season. And it just kind of all came together. And, that's kind of a testament to baseball in itself, where, whatever school you go to, whatever program you go to, if you can play, you can play, So for us, we didn't really worry about stuff like that, but we just came together as a team. We had a lot of fun. We gelled really well, and we had a lot of guys that, played the game hard, played the game right. And we're out there to win every night. So it kind of, like I said, shows testament to baseball is doesn't matter where you play at, where you're playing. If you can play and you're a good player, people will find you.
So how important was it to have, an on and off the field leader like Frank Jennings, who, I've said it before, I'll say it again. Just watching him play, he was swagger personified, and he became the team swagger.
Yeah. Oh, he knows. Don't tell him that. That'll go to his head. But no, he definitely had a lot of swag out there. And no, we had a good connection right away. We became very close that season. And we were both outfielders, so we had a lot of fun running around out there. And he was a great player. He played so hard. He played to win every day. Brought the intensity for sure, which was, I think, a big, big part of that team in that season. But I can't say enough about him. He was a great dude. I had a lot of fun playing with him. I learned a lot from him. And I still keep in touch with him today. We were talking a couple of weeks ago. So he's a good dude. And it was an honor to play with him and, have a lot of fun that season.
Would you say that the buildup of, the birth of Walkoff City, like how important was that into, building the team's identity and shooting up the National Summer Collegiate Baseball rankings the way that you did? Started off, number 20 is pretty good. Then jump up to number 12 and peaking at number 9 in early July of that year.
That's awesome. You know what I mean? Like, you try not to think about the rankings as much, and you see stuff like that, and that's just it's a great feeling. But it's a testament to that team, man. Like I'm going to say over and over again, we just had a lot of great dudes, a lot of good ball players, and we gelled, and we went out to win every day. We brought the intensity, and we just wanted to get to the field, take care of business. And it was a really good experience, and we had a lot of good dudes, and it was we kind of came together that season.
I mean, just in terms of just the walk-off city part of things, yeah. 4 walk-offs in 2 weeks is one thing. Another thing is getting, 3 of them in the span of just 1 week. And then the fact that 3 consecutive Wednesdays, there was a walk-off. I feel like you rarely will ever experience, like, not just as a fan, but just playing on a team that does that.
Yeah. You never want to be behind. You never want to be put in those situations where you have to have a walk-off, of course. We'd like to win a little more handily. But, no, that being part of a walk-off in a team like that is such a cool experience. I think walking off at home is one of the greatest feelings and experiences you can have in baseball. It's definitely up there. But, yeah, it was a great time to be a part of those. Like, it was a really cool feeling. And, like I said, it's just testament that team never quit. We had the mentality to just keep passing it on. And when we got down in games, we never felt like we were out, and we never worried, and we just kept playing to the last out. And that was the mindset we had all year. And I think that's why we were so good as a team, and we're able to, pull out those walk-off wins in those clutch situations, because we just really never had any quit. As good of a start as you guys got on getting to 18-5, towards the end of June. Obviously, there was a time where, you guys kind of had your struggles, and some guys went down because their arms just gave out and, hit innings limits or whatever. But, how important was it to, rebolster the pitching staff, getting 2 solid dudes from the land of 10,000 lakes, Minnesota, getting Kevin Webke and Gus Varlin from Concordia St. Paul, and then bolstering the bullpen with a guy like Bear Bellamy, who, just a couple of weeks ago just pitched, his first game at AAA. Yeah. I saw that. I'm happy for him. He was a great dude, great pitcher. So I wish him all the success. But that's part of a long season. You're going to have your ups and downs, no matter how good of a team you are, especially when you're playing a lot of games like that, a long season. And it happens to every team, everybody. You have, like, as a team and as an individual, you're going to have your ups and downs during the season, and we had those. But it was great getting those arms in, getting those guys in. They're all great dudes, great pitchers, great players. yeah, like that's what happens. Sometimes there's a lot of turnovers. Guys get released, get signed, get hurt, and that's just part of a long season and those ups and downs I talked about. But yeah, it was huge for them to come. They really helped us out, helped out the pitching staff. And really geared us up for the second half of the season.
And the playoff run that ensued as well. And, to be a part of the first playoff home game in Utica, at least in the PGCBL, you've been on the road the year before against Victor. You're in another, winner go home scenario. You're playing the new one of the newer additions to the league, the Jamestown Jammers. Again, you win or you go home. And it was an interesting game because, number one, there was a lengthy rain delay. I think the game got delayed like almost like an hour, maybe even more. And then it was a pitcher's duel. Nobody scored. And then seventh inning, their leadoff guy, CJ Pickering, goes yard right down the left field line. And, off Kevin Webke, and it's 1-0. But, again, that team knew how to play from behind. And you ended up being the guy that started that seventh inning rally to take the lead for good. Even though, it was, you got on base, not with a hit, but it was either a bait walk or a hit by pitch. I wouldn't be shocked if it was the latter because of how often that happened with you.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if it was a hit by pitch. I think it might have been a walk, but I wouldn't be surprised if I got hit by a pitch. It happened a lot.
Yeah, but so how important was it for you to set the table, and then to see, a guy like Mason Fessler who hit in like the 220s, but came up with that clutch 2-run single to give you guys the lead, and then, of course, the ever-reliable Baldinelli getting the insurance run shortly thereafter.
Yeah, I mean, like you said it best, we just didn't quit. No matter, we knew how to play from behind, and whenever we got down, we just had that mentality to keep the ball rolling, pass it to the next guy, get on base, produce some runs. For me, my job that inning, I just wanted to get on base, get a hit, get on base, do whatever I could to keep the ball rolling, get on base, and potentially score some runs. And like I said earlier, in playoff baseball, anything happens. All the games are tough games. Anything can happen. And for Mason to come up with that big hit, that was huge, and in playoff baseball, none of the stuff that happened in the regular season matters as much because you're just trying to win that game, win that series, win that at bat, win that, pitching matchup. So it was a great moment for him, and it was a great moment for us to put us on top.
And again, that was the first PGCBL playoff win in franchise history. And, that only carried the momentum, into the West Division Championship Series against the top seeded Elmira Pioneers. And, game one, pitching again, the story, shut them out 3-0. Craig Prince, like Webke, goes 8 innings of Bulldog performance. This time, Webke gave up just that 1 run. Prince shut him out. And then Green got his second save in as many games. But unfortunately, that came at a cost. Not only did Mason Fessler go down with an injury, but, you as well, unfortunately, 9th inning, I believe it was, tearing your pec. Did you kind of know, like right then, in that moment, once that happened, like, I'm done?
Yeah, I mean, it's every guy during a long season has a lot of injuries. You battle through a lot of stuff. But yeah, when that happened, I kind of knew something was off, and something wasn't right, and I'd never done that before, and it was unfortunate. It was kind of a bad feeling because I knew we won that game, we were looking good in that series, and it was a tough time for that to happen for me and for the team. But it's just one of those things that kind of happens in baseball, as well as Mason getting hurt too. It's tough to go through, it's tough to experience. But for me personally, I was just so upset I couldn't be out there with the guys for the rest of the series.
And, the effect was immediately felt because, game 2 back in Utica with a chance to clinch, without your bat in the lineup, and obviously Mason's too, Sean Jelly, monster of a man, 6'11", if he makes the big leagues, he'll be the tallest player to ever, pitch in the majors or just play in the majors in general. And, he mowed you guys down. He retired 25 straight, through a complete game 2 hit shutout with no walks. And, I feel like, just watching that happen, and also, with the segue being, today, we put out number 1 moment in Blue Sox franchise history, which was, winning the West Division title out in Elmira. How hard was it to, watch on from the sidelines and like, I wish I was out there with these guys?
Yeah, it's really tough, especially getting hurt late in the season in the playoff run going into the championship series. It's a tough feeling. It's tough to go through. because I wanted to be out there for my guys and try to help us win as much as I could. But it's all you can do at that point is be a good teammate, be there for your guys and do what you can to help out. But yeah, it was tough, because you go through a long season, you want to be there at the end for the finish. But it was a tough experience, but it's something that kind of I think made me stronger moving forward in my baseball career. And then Sean Jelly was a good pitcher, man. He was a good dude. I have a funny story about that. I think he hit me 2 or 3 times in the regular season in the same game. And I think I got hit. I was walking to first, and I was like, oh, guy hit me again. I was a little angry. And then he looked at me. He's like, hey, man, nothing personal. I just didn't have it today. So it's that was a funny little moment I shared with him because he was a really, really good dude. But yeah, I wish I was out there, and I can't predict anything. I can't predict a different outcome. But if I was out there, I think I would have been able to help my team a little bit more. Obviously than I could have. But I can't say that he wouldn't have pitched such a great game. But I would have been battling in there.
And that I think I brilliantly segues to my next question, which is against Amsterdam in the regular season, you beat them 2 out of 3 times, with the home team winning each time, 2 wins in Utica, which was crucial, including against the guy who started the opening game of that series, Cameron Ank from Maryland. Do you think that granted, you can never, predict, what could have actually happened, but granted, Amsterdam is a powerhouse and still is, but how much differently could things have gone had, you been healthy, had Mason been healthy, and, a couple weeks before that, Mike Hope got injured, and he was, he's doing great things in indie ball too, and he was an all-star in his own right too.
Yeah. It's tough. You can't make any predictions. You can't really change what happened. I can't take away from Jelly's performance and, from the way that team played. But you can't help but think maybe it would have been different if we had our full team and all those guys didn't go down or get hurt at the same time. I can't make a prediction, but it might have been a little different. I'll just leave it at that.
He probably could have won at least one game against the Mohawks.
Yeah. I mean, you never know. But I think it would have been a little different if we had all our guys, for sure.
That's fair enough. It's fair enough.
As far as I'm going to go with that one.
All right. Yeah, you don't want to piss any people, Keith.
I don't want to take away from anybody's great performances, but I think if we had our full guys, it would have been a battle either way. But I think it would have been maybe a little different.
Yeah, I was mainly pointing at Keith Griffin. I feel like he was like, You hear what this Tim guy said? He said Utica could have beaten Amsterdam in the championship series had they been healthy. In that exact voice too. You've heard him talk. You were here for 3 years.
I think we would have had a shot. I really do. I think when you get a lot of guys that get injured at the same time in that magnitude in going into a playoff series, it's or a championship series, it's tough to bounce back from that, and like I said, all you can do is be a good teammate for those guys when you're hurt, because it's tough to watch as someone being hurt. I've experienced it a lot, but all you can do is be a great teammate, and those guys picked it up. They battled, they played well, they played their butts off for us and for the team. So I can't I can't take away from anybody, but I think would have been a little different.
So I feel, again, I think it was an even easier decision to come back for your quote unquote farewell tour in 2017. And did you kind of know going into the year, I'm like, okay, I'm probably going to have to be one of, if not the captain of this incoming squad?
Maybe a little bit. I try not to think about that stuff, if that happens, it's a great honor, it's humbling, but, for me, I just wanted to be just come in and play ball the right way, play ball hard, have fun, and kind of for some of the younger guys, just show them, the right way to play and how to have fun with it. And I like to let my play do the talking a lot, but I try to do the best I can with guys in the clubhouse. And then just going into that year, I just I knew we were going to have a good team, we were going to have a good season. And, I just wanted to put my best baseball on the field that I could and let my play do the talking,
So, I mean, unfortunately, a 3-0 start was all good and dandy. And then, you had a couple losing streaks, one of 10 games in a row right after starting 3-0, and then an 8-game losing streak. And now at the end of June, you're 4-18. And, those 18 losses, you guys only lost 18 games the entire regular season the year prior.
Yeah.
What did you remember, just from, being, I think, having the worst record in the league at the time and thinking to yourself, like, like we got a long way to go, but there's still a very remote chance that we still can make the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, when it's like I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of ups and downs in the season. Unfortunately, we had ours at the beginning. I was trying to forget that start a little bit, but it happens. And when you play a long season and you play a long game or a lot of games, you try not to let that get to you, especially when you have the whole season in front of you. And for us, we just kind of took it as a moment to regroup and be like, okay, let's not worry about the past. Let's like reset and start from here and play our best baseball every night. Because I know we lost a lot of close games, so we were in games, but it was just kind of a moment where you reset. There's a lot of baseball still left to be played. And, we just tried to, like I said, go out and win, take it one game at a time and win every game we could and play hard. Good baseball and have fun with it. There's a joke. I'll share the story when we went 3-0. I remember, I don't know who it was, but somebody was like, "Oh, we might go 50-0," and it was just ironic that we went on a little losing streak. But no, it's all fun. It's all part of baseball, man. It just happens, and when that happens early on in the season, you'd have that rather happen earlier rather than later, so you can kind of regroup, adjust, and get ready to go on a run for the rest of the season, which we did.
So with a week to go in the season, you guys are still, I think, 4.5, 5 games behind Socrates for that last spot coming out of the East Division. And obviously, I think the transition to the East, which is a hell of a lot tougher than playing in the West, because you got to deal with Amsterdam, Albany, who was very good at the time, the Diamond Dogs as well, and Socrates was on their way up the ladder as well. But despite that bad start, a week left in the season, you guys are still in contention. And now you're playing the Diamond Dogs in a huge rivalry game. And the Diamond Dogs, bear in mind, they had, in the last 3 days, they had lost 5 in a row, 2 doubleheaders included in that. And the Diamond, they came in pissed, and they took that anger, frustration out on Nolan Freeman. And granted, I know Xander Uxley, the manager, might have left out. And who knows in hindsight, maybe he left them out there just a little too long. And Nolan blew his arm out and had to be replaced by Logan Foster, who, by the way, in a pinch, he pitched very good out of the bullpen, kept you guys, despite the deficit.
Tough spot to be thrown into, and he did well.
Yeah, the fight. So, despite being in that, despite the deficit that we'll talk about, that at the highest that it got, he kept you guys in the game. But that third inning wasn't pretty. 3 errors, including 2 by, a kid who was literally coming right out of high school, Matt McDermott, who just played in the Cape this summer.
Yeah, he's a good player. He's having a good career. Big stuff's going to start happening for him. I keep in touch with him a little bit.
And I know you made, I think it got scored in error, but if I look back at it, it probably wasn't given the degree of difficulty having to, like, as you would describe, slide in and make a catch and looking like with a run around third in a sac fly situation.
Yeah, no, it was Russ Olive, I think, who's lefty, hit a backside line drive to left. And I came sliding in, and it's a catch I make 9 times out of 10, easy, 10 times out of 10. And it was just one of those that hit off the heel of my glove. And it was one of those things that just happened. And to speak about, the errors and stuff, physical errors happen in baseball. You try to avoid the mental ones, but errors happen, and it's just something you got to not let affect the rest of your game, the rest of your at-bats, the rest of your, if you're a pitcher on the mound. It's part of the game. It's something you don't want to happen, but it's something you got to kind of move on quickly from, have a short-term memory. And unfortunately in that game, it was a tough spot for Nolan because he got injured. You never want to see anybody get injured, especially late in the season. And he was a good dude. He's a good friend of mine, and I still keep in touch with. But that's, it's kind of baseball stuff. Weird stuff like that happens. And all you can do is try not to let it affect you, try to stay even keel. And you got to move on quickly from that. And that's what I tried to do in that game, moving forward from, obviously I slid to catch the ball, but it's a ball I should have caught. And it happens. I catch it 9 times out of 10. And I pride myself on my defense. I think I'm a great outfielder. But it was just one of those plays that happens, and you got to move on quick, reset, and not let it affect you, and get back in the game.
So bottom of the sixth comes around, and now the deficit is at its peak. It's 9-0, and their starting pitcher is dealing as well. But the bottom of the order gets everything started. Mendyke and McDermott. Actually, no. Evan Lee was no. Mendyke came on later in the game, but I know Matt McDermott got a big knock that kind of ignited the rally, and then finally you guys get on the board with arguably one of the most underrated players to ever come through here, Cole Purcell, coming up with the 2-run single.
Great person, great player. He's a good dude.
So he got you guys on the board, and then a couple batters later, I think Zane Harris got on base to put 2 on. I think there was either I think it was 2 outs when you came up, and you got a good pitch to hit, and knock off the bat, 3-run bomb, and like where you think something like, okay, like we're right back in this thing.
Yeah, I mean, in a game like that, when you're down by that much early, I think it was, like you said, 9-0. There's not much you can do. All you have to do is focus on the next at bat, the next inning, and just kind of have that mentality to pass it along, get on base, pass it along to the next guy, and keep getting on base, trying to manufacture runs any way you can, and keep chipping away. And that's what we tried to do. That's what we said in the dugout. Whatever happened. We just tried to reset and chip away. And yeah, I mean, for me, I think it was a first pitch fastball. I was looking for something in my zone. I got a pitch in my zone, and I put a good swing on it, and had a good result for the home run, which was exciting. But it's just one of those games you got to just keep battling, chip away. And like I said, I was looking for a certain pitch in my zone. I got it, and I didn't miss it.
So fast forward an inning later, it's still 9-5 because I think I can't remember if it was. I think it was Connor Hurley who nailed the door down in the 7th. Another underrated pitcher. I mean, I believe it was either Submarine or Sidewinder, one or the other. But he keeps the Diamond Dogs off the board in the top half of the 7th. Bottom of the 7th, little by little, I know there was some good plays that were made. I know Norman dropped down a really good sac bunt, to get the ball rolling, and then while the ball was rolling, I should say, and then Zane Harris, right before you, walks to load the bases. And, given the score 9-5, you're now the tying run. Are you thinking it's like, dude, there's no way that I'm in this spot now where if I go deep again, I'm going to tie this game up?
I mean, I'd be lying if I said it didn't cross my mind. Obviously, you think about that, it crosses your mind. But no, I mean, I tried to just calm myself down, live in that moment, stay in that moment, and just do anything I could to help the team, help a run get across the board, and keep chipping away. That's a testament to our team. They kept fighting, they never quit. They got on base to let me have that opportunity. And yeah, I mean, my mindset was going in just to calm down, and they brought in a relief pitcher that I had faced before, and I kind of knew the way he was going to pitch me. So going into that bat, I was kind of just trying to calm myself down, stay in the moment, and think about that.
So it was I think you might have either swung and missed or fouled off the first pitch that you saw. So on 0-1, take me through what you saw there and how you saw the ball come off your bat, because I mean, this wasn't just, a straight, shot. I mean, it was a high arcing fly ball that for some reason just kept tailing towards the left field corner, kept carrying. And then Lucas Terwilliger, who was in left field at that time, he was helpless, and all you could do was just watch it sail over. Yeah,
I mean, I can't remember what happened the first pitch. I know it was 0-1. But like I said, I'd faced him a couple times before. I knew the way he pitched guys and the way I felt like he was going to pitch me. In 0-1, I was looking for an off speed up in the zone, or something that he might have hung up in the zone, and he threw. I can't remember if it was a curveball or changeup, but I got the off speed that I wanted in a good zone to hit. And I put a good swing on it and just tried not to miss it. And, I got a good barrel and let it fly and tied up the game with that grand slam. It was just one of those moments that I'll remember forever. I'll cherish that moment forever. And it's something that, I'm just grateful that I could have been a part of that comeback and that moment in Blue Sox history. And it's something that, like I said, I'll always remember. But yeah, it was a great feeling to hit that. And when I hit it, I knew I got it, but I didn't know if it was going to stay fair. If I got under it, I knew I hit it well. But then when I got to first, I knew that that it was going out of the yard. So it was a really good feeling, not only for me but for my team. Knowing the way that game started and the way we came back, we were able to battle back and be in that spot to win the game.
And honestly, I think seeing you round the bases after just tying the game, like I think that's probably the most fired up I've ever seen you, at least in a Utica uniform.
Yeah. I mean, I like to say I'm a pretty laid back guy. I'm pretty outgoing, but no, that one definitely fired me up. It's hard not to in that moment where you're down 4 and I hit that home run to tie up the game. I was excited. Like I said, I was excited more for me, not only for me but for my team, because the way that game started, we didn't quit and we came back and were able to tie up that game. And if those guys didn't get on base, get that rally going, I wouldn't have even had the chance to be in that spot and have that moment. So, yeah, I was fired up. I was really fired up. I tried to stay even keel, not show too much emotion on the field because baseball's hard enough. But, yeah, I was really excited, and I was excited to get back in the dugout with those guys. Like I said, it's a moment I'll always remember. I'll never forget. I think my family and I still have the video and the broadcast from that game and that moment. It's really cool to have, and hopefully one day I'll be able to show my kids something like that.
So, I mean, there's still a week left in the season. You guys are chipping away. Saugerties is getting ice cold. They're losing games left and right. And with, only like a handful of days left in the season, you go to play Elmira. And not only do you have to just play the regularly scheduled game, you have to finish a game that was suspended about 5 days before that in Utica where, Brent Kessinger was pitching that game. And I remember this too because their manager got tossed early in that game.
Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah,
which I played him out a little too. I had a little too much fun with that, but I mean, I think that's tame. That's tame compared to what I do now. That's what you got to see for yourself when you come back to the U next summer. But yeah, you had to finish that game number 1 and then play the regularly scheduled game right after that, and fatigue might have set in, and Elmira capitalized on it, but yet you guys never gave up. You made it a tight game, and it all fell on your shoulders with 2 outs in the top of the 9th. And you got another good pitch to hit, and you were almost ready to etch your name in Sox lore yet again. Yeah. But this time, the baseball gods or Mother Nature, whatever, just knocked it down and kept it in the ballpark. What do you remember from that?
Yeah, I mean, I knew we had to finish that first game, win that first game first, most importantly. And then we went into that second game, and, I think we're up early, and then they battled back. And to be in that moment, that's kind of the moment that you, as a player, you kind of live for, and you love being able to be in that moment. Like, that's a moment I love to be up. I would 100% would love to be up in that moment. And, yeah, I think it was one of their guy was throwing some heat that day, and I think it might have been a full count. I got a good pitch to hit, and I thought I got it off the bat, and he caught it at the warning track. I think it would have tied the game up because I think Norman was on second at the time. But yeah, it's, I have mentality, especially in that situation. I hate making the last out of a game. I try not to ever make the last out. I try to pass it along. But yeah, it's just one of those things that it's unfortunate it happens, and it's a tough feeling to go through because we battled that whole game, and like we talked about earlier, coming back from that record in the first half of the season to battle back and to be in playoff contention with the last couple of days of the season, it speaks to my teammates, the managers, the program in itself. It speaks to everybody coming together because we had a really good team that year. We had a lot of characters, big personalities. We had a lot of guys that gelled, and we had a lot of fun. But we had a lot of guys that were dogs, man. They just never quit. They didn't stop playing to the final out. So as unfortunate as that was, and for me personally to make that last out when I just missed the guy caught at the track, it was good knowing that for as badly as we started that year, we came within one game of making the playoffs.
And I mean, obviously it must have stung even more, the fact that eliminated you from playoff contention right then and there. And, like I have no shame in making this comparison. The last game that you played ever in a Blue Sox uniform, against the Diamond Dogs at home, that was the only game that you ever played, where you weren't in contention for a playoff spot. And it was kind of like Jeter, where, the only game that he ever played in, where he was out of playoff contention was his final home game It wasn't his last game ever, but it was his last home game.
Yeah.
And I still remember this game to this day. I mean, granted, you had nothing to play for other than pride and for you specifically, your last hurrah and to fully cement your legacy in that one final game. And obviously, were you expecting the kind of, I don't know how to say this other than, the kind of, it's not really a spectacle, but the kind of, how everything is portrayed, like how ceremonial everything was to, memorialize your career and your last game ever in the blue and white.
Yeah, well, first off, a comparison to Jeter is all right in my book. I'll take that any day. So thank you.
Even as a Mets fan, okay.
Yeah. Even as a Mets fan, I'll take that any day. Thank you. But no, I mean, it's tough playing in those games where it's not that you're playing for nothing because every game matters, everything is important. But it's tough playing in a game when you missed the playoffs by one game going into the last game of the season. But yeah, I mean, going into that game, like I had kind of an idea. People were joking about it, and I tried not to think about it really because we just had a tough series. But I had kind of an idea, and it turned out to be an amazing day, an amazing, reception and ceremony. And it was something that I'll cherish and I'll remember for the rest of my life. I'm extremely humbled. I'm extremely honored to have that happen to me and to be treated that way. And it's just a testament not only to my team, my managers, but to the city of Utica and the Blue Sox as a program in itself. For them to do that, it was something really special. And I'll never forget that. And it's really showed how much of a family we were and, how good they were to me over those years.
So, I think if there's anything, because, I mean, not only, did you become the first player to get your number retired and, be the first official Blue Sox Hall of Fame inductee, but also that day, someone that we talked about earlier also made the surprise appearance. Was that kind of the giveaway? I'm like, okay, something's up.
Yeah, I mean, I saw Franklin Jennings when he showed up. I stayed in contact with him, and he showed up, and I didn't really know that he was coming, and I was like, oh, what are you doing here? And he's like, oh, I'm just coming to watch the game, and I'm like, all right, something's going on. And then Xander was hinting at stuff, and that gave it away a little bit, but it was it was something you never expect. Like that's such an honor. When you come to a place to play baseball, you just try to play the game hard, play the game right, and have fun. And, you don't expect something like that to happen, but to get my number retired and be inducted to the Hall of Fame was something that, like I said, I'll cherish forever. I'm extremely humbled. I'm honored. And it just shows how special this Utica Blue Sox program is and how good they were to me and how great of a place it is to play here.
So, I mean, what do you remember just about the game itself? Because obviously, the Diamond Dogs ended up, again, it was a rivalry game against a team that, is your primary rival. And, you guys really, obviously, you didn't have a playoff spot to contend for. And so essentially, like the game was quote unquote meaningless, but obviously every game matters. But, what do you remember just from, being in that game and just, was it one of the more difficult ones you ever had to play with, given all the emotions that were going through you, throughout the entire day?
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad I had my sunglasses that day. I wore my sunglasses. I usually wear them a lot, but I wore them a little extra that day because I was a little bit emotional and I was, holding back tears and stuff. But I'm glad I had those sunglasses. But yeah, it's something. It's a very emotional day because not only is it a closure to a season, but also my career with the Blue Sox. So it's tough because some of those guys, you'll keep in contact with, you'll see here and there, but you might not ever play or take the field with them again. So not only is it emotional in that aspect, but the whole ceremony made it even more emotional. And, and I tried to, it was definitely tough to play, but I tried to, there's still a game to play. There's still at bats to be had. So I tried to, keep it in the back of my mind as much as I could and live in that moment until, the game was over.
So it's really funny, talking about the end of that game. So the Diamond Dogs had I think it was like 10-5 or something like that. And in the bottom of the ninth, Rob Andrioli, who was hitting the leadoff spot that night, he came up, as the potential last out, and you know, I think you might know where you were, which was in the on deck circle, in that at bat. What do you remember? Because I think the batter before, maybe even the batter before that, kept the game alive.
Yeah.
Like, were you thinking to yourself, like, I might get a chance at one final at bat here in this last inning?
Yeah, 100%. I wanted one more for sure. I didn't want to leave that field that day, but yeah, I remember I was in the on deck circle, and where the on deck circle was, there was a lot of the young kids would hang out and talk to the players, and I remember a bunch of the kids were cheering me on, and I was having a conversation with them. But that was the moment where the emotions kind of let in, and I kind of tried to live in that moment and take in that last experience of being on that field, being around the fans. And, it was really cool because, like I said, I tried to live in the moment. I was chatting with the young kids, and, that's something for me that I'll never forget. And I just, like I said, tried to live in the moment, experience all that was happening in that moment. And, with those kids, it kind of reminded me of when I was a little kid going to games like that. So it meant a lot. And then I remember when Rob got out, he was coming back in. I went to go talk to him, and he kind of just gave me a smile because I know he was trying to get me up again. And I just gave him a big hug because he's a good dude, and I still keep in contact with him today. But yeah, I'll never forget that moment either. That's kind of when I held my emotions in check, but that's when they kind of all kicked in a little bit.
So, the funny thing was, I was anticipating because I knew that Rob knew how to get on base. I think he had over 300 that year.
Yeah, he had a great year. Great ball player.
Sleeper of a batter. He just knew how to hit. And I really thought he was going to get on base. So with that in mind, I had your stuff queued up, and it wasn't anything that was in your arsenal of walk-up songs from that year. And again, the title of that song, all you need is just 2 words, 10 letters, and you would know it when you hear it. Of course, it's Jump Around.
Jump Around by House of Pain. Yeah, it was my first walkout ever at Utica.
Yeah, and honestly, like, I think had you gotten up, and I was going to try to drum it up because, at that point, given the deficit, I'm like, okay, we know this will be the last at bat for sure for you had that happened. And, like, I would have milked it a little bit, and, like, I would have tried to make, with not only the song, but also just the moment that in itself, would that have been the moment where, like, even the sunglasses couldn't mask the emotions that would have come up in that spot?
Yeah, if you had done that, I would have got real emotional. I don't know. I probably wouldn't even swung at the first pitch or anything. But yeah, no, I definitely that would have made me even more emotional because that just kind of that was at the beginning of our journey, beginning of my journey in Utica, and it was something that excuse me, that I'll remember from my first year there. And it was I definitely would have gotten emotional. Considering I already was, but yeah, that was it was just cool because that would have been like it would have accumulated everything during my time there, and really started from the first game that I had at that field to the last. So
yeah, and I would have made sure, I would have tried as hard as I could, but I know in the fans they would have succumbed to it anyway, making sure you got that proper standing O for that last at bat. And I also, not just for the fans, but despite the visiting fans who got on your case, and Diamond Dogs fans don't even try to say that you didn't, because I got the receipt saying that you did, saying like, you're a real legend. Real legend, Taylor. If they were playing in that emotional state, they would have struggled too.
Yeah, going into that game, we had a long road trip back from Elmira. It was a long couple days of travel, and I just, it was one of those games. I just didn't have my best at the plate, but it is what it is. When you hear those heckles and when you hear people saying stuff like that, it just means you're doing a lot of good on the field. It means you're doing a lot of good to make them mad. So you always love to hear that stuff too.
Yeah, living in their heads rent free. That's the real prize we're going after.
Yeah, they know who you are, so that's usually a good thing in my book.
So moving on, post quote unquote retirement from Utica. In the independent scene, it's unfortunate he didn't get drafted, even though most everyone would agree that you should have been, given all the tools that you had as a player. Because I mean, you're about as close to a 5-tool player, given your size is 6'3".
Yeah, I had a couple opportunities. I was talking to some scouts, some teams, and then obviously I hurt my pec. And then going to my last year of college, I was getting really close to getting drafted again, and I hurt my hamstring, so I kind of missed a large portion of that season. So, those things happen. It kind of just, it is what it is. You kind of control what you can control. It was, something that was unfortunate, but it just happened the way it did. So.
But I mean, on the independent circuit, I mean, you made your presence felt. I mean, you absolutely raked with the Plattsburgh Thunderbirds, and I believe you won a championship there, if I'm not mistaken. And then in 2020, in the pandemic shortened season, you were the number 1 overall pick in that league with the Saranac Lake Surge, and had another great season with them. Like, what's life been essentially like? What's life been like, essentially moving on from those glory years in the U?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely different. It's I'll never forget my moments in Utica, but for me as a ball player, it was kind of the next step in my baseball journey, my baseball career, because I know I'm a good player. I have a lot to offer on the field to a team, and I have a lot of tools and talent that I think I can still put on the field and play hard and play the game right. And like I said, it was kind of the next step for me. Not only to keep playing, but potentially get drafted or picked up again. And like I said, it was just the next step. And, every year I've gotten better. I think right now I'm playing my best baseball I ever had in my career. And I'm a better person and a better player from my years in Utica, playing now. And, it's just kind of where my journey's led to. And, like I said, I'm playing my best baseball. I'm feeling good. I'm healthy. So, it's just kind of keep playing, getting better. And, every year I've played in a higher league. I've played in a better, higher independent league. And, I think good things are going to happen. So.
And so, I mean, the funny thing is, obviously, it's kind of like, anytime you move on from college, and you play professionally, there's going to be some overlap between, collegiate days and, of course, summer college days. What has that overlap been like in terms of, running into some other former Blue Sox players and some former opponents of yours as well, whether it be facing them again or teaming up with them?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because as you play at a higher level and you keep moving up in baseball, the baseball world gets smaller. Baseball gets smaller. And not only do I keep in contact and I'd see some of the guys that I've played with over the years every so often, I've played with and against a lot of guys that I came across and came through at my time in Utica, because my time in Utica and college baseball in itself, collegiate summer league, you're able to create a lot of good ties, a lot of good bonds, a lot of relationships with people that you might not have met otherwise. So it's a really good experience. And for me, I played, like I said, with and against a lot of guys that I either knew personally or I didn't know back then and got to know later on, and one of them being, I think I mentioned to you before, but Chris Quitzer, I played against him. He was on Adirondack for a couple of years and then Glens Falls.
Yeah, that sounds about me. That guy can rake.
Yeah. He's a great dude. He's a great player. I played against him and then I played with him for a season. I still talk to him to this day. AJ Pollock, who was on the Mohawk Valley my last year, I played against him, and I do a lot of preseason stuff down in Florida or in Pennsylvania, and I played with him at some of that stuff down there. And then ironically, when I came out to throw out the first pitch one time in Utica, Coco was playing shortstop, and then I ended up playing with him the next year. And it's funny because I didn't know him personally, but he remembered me, and we kind of created a relationship through that. And he's a great dude. And it was a lot of fun playing with him. But there's countless others guys that I've played with, against, that I know of, that know me, that you kind of meet, and it's a really cool experience to catch up and talk about those old times during college summer ball, and see how different everybody is, not only as a person but as a baseball player, moving forward to now.
So, that brings me to it. I mean, one of the guys that, has played in your league, on the independent scene is, Khalid Cox, who was on that 2018 squad, and broke your single season home run mark. And that was, I definitely thought that, the majority of the records that you set in Utica would stand quite a long time, But what's it been like? Watching the talent level just improve after your departure and seeing some of those records fall, with a good of them coming, being broken by Luis De Leon, who took down your hits record, shattered doubles and tied you in total bases.
Yeah, I mean, well, records were meant to be broken, right? I mean, if somebody's breaking your record, that means that's a good thing. But no, it's really cool. It's cool to see that the program and the team has gotten better every year, and they're improving every year, and that the amount of talent and good people that are going through that system. It's kind of an honor to know that I was a part of it early on and a part of it for 3 seasons. So it's records are great. They're awesome. I'll cherish those, but it's cool to kind of see them, get broken by good players. That shows that the talent level and the program's getting better. And it just really speaks to the Utica Blue Sox, the managers, the ownership, the staff, everybody involved, how good of a program that is. And how much they helped me grow, not only as a person, but as a player. And that it really is a great place to play, to go get better, play good baseball and have fun. And I love seeing that and know that I had a hand in that legacy and that tradition that Utica has.
So, I mean, in terms of, the legacy that you left, I mean, literally in terms of, promotional items, at least every year since you've left, the photo of you throwing up the U on, after an extra base hit, I mean, that has been used on promotional stuff every single year. Like, I mean, is that nuts to you? That's still used today?
I mean, it's awesome. I mean, again, I'm humble. That's an honor for me. It's a really cool feeling. And it was just something that I did, I didn't even think much to it. To be honest, I was watching a Miami football game, and I think I kind of stole it from them, but it worked for us. And I remember, I think I hit a triple and I just threw it up, and I'm glad it could hang around and be a part of the tradition and culture of Utica. And I'm glad that I had a little bit of a lasting footprint there where, I can hang around a little bit in some sense, I guess.
So in terms of, speaking of traditions and, little things that catch on that last a while, I mean, I know certain things that, I caught on from you guys, the teams that you were on over the years. I mean, so I definitely got to ask you about some of these trends and their origins. So okay. First and foremost, constantly, and I know it's the first summer you were there, and it just kept going. Even now, I still see them. The squid emojis, being you commenting them or on your own posts.
Yeah, I'm going to take credit from that one. I don't know. I'm going to take credit from that one. It's something that, a lot of my college buddies used, and some of my buddies from home. And it's just kind of a fun, playful way to, when somebody does something stupid or silly or something funny, you kind of, you call them a squid or something like that, or you throw the emoji out there. And it's just kind of a cool thing that, I kind of brought to Utica, I guess, and something that I did that kind of was a fun, playful thing to, kind of mess around with the guys and create a good bond with those guys. So it's something I still use today, actually.
So sticking with the 2015 team, so your roommate in Utica was another incredibly underrated player, first baseman Don Brager.
Absolutely.
And one guy that constantly kept name dropping him for reasons I will never know until you tell me now. The incomparable Aaron Smith, one of the funniest people I've ever met, but out in baseball and outside of baseball. He constantly kept saying, "Let's get Dom a swing." Why?
I remember that, of course. I can never forget that. Aaron was a funny guy. He was a great teammate, great player. And same with Dom. He was a great player, great person. So it was an honor to play with them. I was grateful to, meet them and make those connections. But I don't know. I think that came from one game. I don't know if Dom was having a good or a bad game, but I think Aaron just kind of said it as a joke to kind of mess with him. And I think he ended up getting a big hit or something. So it kind of took on a life of its own. He would just kind of scream it even if Dom was playing first base or something. So it's kind of those one little, it's like one of those funny things you have in the dugout with your teammates that, it's kind of like a little inside thing, but took on a life of its own, and it was, we had fun with it.
I feel like in terms of Aaron Smith, I mean, he's one of those guys that, again, it's incomparable. Like, and there's always at least one Aaron Smith story that everyone on that team or just any fan would have about Aaron. What is your Aaron Smith story?
I mean, I have a lot of good stories from him. Some I can share, some I can't. But one of my favorite things was I'll share two stories. I hope he doesn't get mad at me for this, but no, I remember one time it was like drizzling, and he was out in the outfield doing like a rain dance or something, and he was singing and dancing during like batting practice, and I could not stop laughing, and it's a testament to him as a person and how much fun he had with the game of baseball. So that was one, and then another one, I think the song Cheerleader, I don't remember who it was by, came out during
it was a one-hit wonder, and I'll tell you what, I got clowned with that song constantly, and I probably told you this because at the time I had like this uber huge crush on someone who was on the cheerleading squad at my college at the time. So my friends constantly clowned me with that.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, aside from that, it kind of just that was his song of the summer. It was kind of our team song of the summer. I don't know why or how it even happened, but we would get a performance every day in the clubhouse, which made it a lot of fun to go out and play. But yeah, he was a funny dude. He was a great dude, and I'm glad I was able to meet him. But yeah, that was his song for a little bit. He could dance too. For
a guy who had a legitimate gut. He had the most. I mean, he was doing like legit full extension leg kicks, like Rockette style.
Oh, he's very flexible. He's a very flexible dude. I learned that real quick.
The funny thing is, he played mainly first base. I mean, there were some plays, and like I can't believe he made that kind of athletic play where he's going full extension, diving in the outfield.
Yeah, he was a good player. He really was, and he was an even better person. So we had a lot of fun on that team. We had a lot of fun playing baseball together. But he made it even more fun with stuff like that.
Best left-handed second baseman I ever saw from that last game where Chris Amaya, the manager, is like, let's have some fun. We're in, so last game, let's have some fun, and let's get Aaron Smith playing second base as a lefty.
Played a good second base. Played a darn good second base.
I will vouch for that. I mean, that was a slugfest in itself, and it was funny that I don't know if you remember this. Christian Santisteban, first baseman for Elmira.
Yeah.
He was in the lead for the batting title, and he played that night, and he went 0 for 4, which gave the title to a guy on your side that didn't play that night, Ryan Cox. I mean, in terms of just the kind of prodigious hitting season that he had, I mean, where does he rank up there in terms of just pure hitters that you played with?
He's definitely up there. He was a great hitter. He's a great ball player, great fielder too. And it just clicked. He had a great season. He was locked in at the plate. And yeah, he was just a great hitter. It was fun playing with him and watching him go to work every day.
Yeah, he had a 5-hit game. I think it was on Boilermaker Sunday too against Albany, and somehow still lost. But I mean, that's another thing. Playing on Boilermaker Sunday was like, we're playing on a big day in the city, but because everyone's if you know how the Boilermakers, if you learn about it, everyone's concentration is on that and nobody shows up. And I'll tell you what, funny. So the game, I don't know if you remember this, fans, you'll probably remember this, but the game where I got a saxophonist to play Baldy's walk-up song.
Oh yeah, I could never forget that.
That was on Boilermaker Sunday too. Nobody was there. A, because it was raining, and B, because of the Boilermaker.
Hey, we were there. We remember. I'll never forget that.
You played with some. Because I remember, I think it was 3 years ago when you were at SNHU, and one of the guys who was on your pitching staff to come back after a long injury, and your team went absolutely bonkers when he came out to "Karma" by Waka Flocka.
Yeah, it was Jake. It was Jake Walkinshaw. He was a starter, but he was also our closer at that time, coming back from Tommy John. And it was just kind of a thing we did. Our team did to get everybody hyped. We had a new sound system in, which made it even more fun at the stadium. But that was cool. And he's killing it right now. He's with the Oakland A's. He's having a good season. We might be seeing him on TV pretty soon.
Oh wow! So I had to bring that up as an example, but like, where does Baldy's rank in terms of the guys that you at least played with? Where does that rank all time?
Oh, he's in a league of his own with that walkout. That's something that you can't not hear that song and put a smile on your face. And, we loved it in the dugout. We had fun with it. The fans loved it. And it was, I try to pick a walkout that gets me pumped up, but also the fans can enjoy and know and have fun. But that was it's in a league of its own. That was one of the best walkouts I've heard.
Like literally, I mean, just if I hear it just anywhere, if I hear just that first saxophone note, like I can't help but get giddy. Like, I mean, and I feel like anyone that either played with him or watched him play here in Utica, if you hear that song, like you will immediately attach your mind and think of him.
It was memorable for sure. That song will always be attached to him.
Yeah, and for you, I mean, I feel like, House of Pain, Jump Around. I mean, obviously it's known for a lot of reasons, but for you, what made you stumble upon that and make that your choice?
I think my mom helped me out with that one. I think she liked that song or knew it, and I was like, she played it one day or something. And I was like, you know what, that would be a fun song, to get me excited and to get the fans into it, because I feel like everybody knows some part of that song. So it was just a cool thing that I had going on, and if I could put some smiles on in the stands and in the dugouts, that's fine with me.
Yeah, I just like to make a note. I picked your last year. I picked one of your walkouts.
You did, yeah.
Yeah, Portland by Drake. Because I heard it at a Mets game with one of your
good choice.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you right now who walked up to it was Michael Conforto.
Yeah.
And like literally, it was really funny. Me and my friends, every single time he would come up, like right on the beat drop, he's like, "My side girl got a 5," like right on the with the screen, like literally all of us would hit the whip right at the beat drop. So I'm like, you know what, I need Taylor.
That's what it's all about. If people are having fun with that song as well as you, that's all it's about.
And not to mention, I mean, very few people can use a song with their actual name in it. But my God, Taylor Gang you saved the best for last.
Yeah. Taylor Gang by Wiz Khalifa. Yeah, so funny enough, a teammate at Southern New Hampshire when I was there mentioned to me like, "Oh, why do you never use this?" And I was like, "I never even thought of it." And it's was kind of made for me because it has my name in it, and I can kind of use that a little bit. So it worked. I mean, I thought it was a good song, and it had my name in it, and it was kind of a cool clicked. You know what I mean? It clicked. So that was one of my favorite ones as well.
So, so last couple of questions. So, before, so the penultimate question being, any favorite moments regarding, just any fans, whether they be younger, older, just any moment where that resonated with you, where like you've never met them in your entire life, but, one experience just really, changed you. It was such a big experience. I mean, because I remember, one specifically I could think of, Adam Gutowski, the gatekeeper, near your dugout, walked out with you during your jersey retirement ceremony.
Yeah, I mean, that's you read my mind. That's where I was going to go. Adam was he was great. His family, his parents were great. They were so good to me. And there's so many moments, but I'll never forget Adam. And I felt like I saw him grow up over the 3 seasons I was there. But he was our gatekeeper. He always opened the gate when we were going in and out of the clubhouse, and he was always right along the gate by the dugout in the front row. And he was our biggest fan, and it was cool to kind of talk to him every day, hang out with him, and it was really cool to see how much fun he had with us and with the guys and watching baseball. And that's the stuff that makes you happy as a player, and that's kind of what baseball and playing is all about. Because I know when I was a kid, I had those moments going to games and seeing players, and for him to be so involved, and for me to get to know him and talk to him every day, it was really an honor, and it was really cool. I'll never forget that, and I wish him and his family all the best. They were really good to me.
Yeah, and it's crazy that I think either next year or soon thereafter, he's gonna be going into high school, man. Literally.
Yeah. Like I said, I joke around, but I watched him grow for 3 years, which is not a lot of people can say, which was really cool for me.
So I guess the perfect last question. I think you and me essentially. We essentially grew up together almost, because we were the last holdouts from the old Utica Brewers, and just thinking about it now, how do you overall view not just the years that you played here, but just the impact that it's had on your life moving forward, how it shaped you into the player and person that you are now, and essentially overall, where does your Utica experience rank up there in terms of life and baseball moments, for that matter?
I mean, it's right up there. I mean, my time in Utica is, those 3 seasons were an extremely special time and part of my life. And it's something that I will, I'll always remember, I'll always talk about, I'll always cherish, and I was just extremely honored and humbled and thankful for the opportunity to play there for 3 years. And it just gives a testament to the program and Utica Blue Sox in itself and the family that we have there. Like I said, I consider them my family, and I'm part of their family. And I'm glad I was able to be a part of that tradition, that legacy at Utica. And my time there not only helped me grow as a person into the person I am today, it helped me grow into the ball player I am today. I learned a lot of life lessons and a lot of baseball lessons there. And I couldn't be more thankful for my time in Utica, and thankful for, how much I grew as a person, and how welcoming the city, the fans, and everybody was. I can't thank them enough. And, it's something that I'll always remember. And, I'll tell my kids about one day, my time in Utica.
So I think that's the perfect note to end on. Taylor, thanks again for, being the first guest on the Soxcast. I think there's only one fitting person to be the first, and it was and obviously it was you, because obviously you and I go way back, and when I told you about this, like you immediately jumped on. So I appreciate it, and I hope the fans will appreciate hearing this. Hopefully they'll relive a lot of the same memories that you and I just did, just talking.
Yeah, and absolutely. And first of all, thank you for having me. I appreciate it so much. And yeah, this is great. Like I had a lot of fun doing this, and I hope the fans enjoy this. Hope they got a little insight to some of the years of the Blue Sox, and it was a lot of fun, and a lot of fun for me. And I'll come back on whenever you want me. I'll be back on.
There he is, the one, the only Taylor Olmstead, ladies and gentlemen. That wraps it up for this episode of the Soxcast. Next week, don't miss it, because we got our next guest, as well as I'm not gonna spoil anything in terms of the guest, but what you will know is that we will announce our 2022 Blue Sox Hall of Fame inductee then, who will join not only Taylor, but Franklin Jennings and Khalid Cox in that Hall of Fame as well. So until next week, for Taylor Olmstead, I'm Tim Best for the Soxcast. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see y'all next week.